There are stories written in books, and others carved in the soul. This is one of those listen with your heart, because what remains unseen is often the most real. My name is Samson. No one asked for me. No one imagined me, yet I was a man. My story began before my bones existed, when a barren woman's silence was shattered by a voice. Not of this world an angel came down. Not with a sword, but with words. He spoke to my mother, like someone awakening a forgotten promise. You will have a son, but he won't belong only to you. He will be mine from before birth. I was set apart Nazarite. They called me consecrated, marked. Bound to the invisible, I wasn't to touch death. I wasn't to taste wine, and above all, I wasn't to cut my hair not for appearance, but because each strand held a covenant, a bridge between human and divine. I grew with strength. I didn't ask for it. It was just there, as if the heavens had injected fire into my muscles. But no one explained how to bear a calling. They knew my strength, but not my doubts. They admired my deeds, but never asked about my soul. I was the chosen one, yet I felt lost. I could kill a lion barehanded, but didn't know what to do with my heart. I could break ropes' doors, chains, but couldn't open the door to my purpose. I was like a sharpened sword with no direction, bright, dangerous. But without a mask, I spoke little, but I observed, and among sheep, stones, and storms, I began to understand that strength isn't the purpose. It's just the language heaven uses to say, I placed you here for a reason. I just didn't know what for. And when you don't understand why, it's easy to fall before any who asks. That's where the second part of my story begins. When my strength met my desire, and the eternal began to fracture. I didn't fall suddenly, I fell in whispers, in glances in the lukewarm heart, of someone who forgot who he belonged. After growing up with an invisible calling, all I wanted was to be human, to feel, to love, and I thought I found it in her, a Philistine woman foreign to my people. But familiar to my eyes, I didn't understand her. But she fascinated me. She wasn't part of my destiny, but I made her part of my desire. My parents warned me, she's not for you. But how do you explain the soul's hunger? With ancient rules, how do you tell fire not to burn? I didn't see her betrayal coming. The wedding was a scene built on sand, surrounded by enemies, by fake laughter, by broken vows, and when the wine ran out, so did the illusion. I was humiliated, mocked, sold for a riddle and some coins. And there, I discovered something else sleeping inside me, fury. I wasn't just a man in love. I was a wounded man with superhuman strength, and strength, when unchanneled, destroys. I'd burned their fields, caught foxes, set the ground beneath them ablaze. My heart was broken, and my vengeance masked it. But that wasn't all. After the first wound came the second, Delilah. I wasn't seeking love anymore. I was seeking comfort, but she wasn't a refuge. She was a mirror of my own weakness. She asked about my strength once and again and again. And each time I resisted until I didn't. Until the soul grows weary of fighting alone. Until even the chosen one gets tired. I told her my secret, not because I trusted, but because I was empty, and when I did, I felt something inside me break. It wasn't my hair, it was the covenant. She didn't wait, they cut my hair as I slept. And when I awoke, I was no longer my servant one. I hadn't just lost strength. I'd lost my identity, and what came next was in silence. It was darkness, darkness with open eyes. They gouged out my eyes, but that wasn't the worst part. The most painful thing was seeing one last time what I'd become before losing my sight. I was no longer the chosen one, no longer the strong one, just an echo of the man who once believed he had purpose, an empty body dragged by chains I'd forged with my own choices. They took me to Gaza. They bound me and put me to grinding grain, like an animal day after day, going in circles, getting nowhere. But what seemed like punishment was transformation. Because in that meal, in that darkness, in that suffocating routine, something began to awaken within me. Each turn was a mirror, each step a confession. And without meaning to, I learned what I never understood in my glory days, that the true enemy was always me. I didn't see Delilah approach that last time. I didn't see the soldiers, but worst of all was not having seen myself for years. Ego can be blinder than any sword, and had been blind long before they took my eyes. In prison, I didn't scream. I didn't roar, I didn't fight. I prayed for the first time unconditionally. I didn't ask for strength. I didn't ask for vengeance. I only asked that he hadn't left. And then my hair began to grow. But it wasn't just hair, it was the covenant. It was the soul's roots breathing again. God hadn't abandoned me. I'd silenced him with my desires, and now sightless, voiceless. Nameless, I heard him again. I didn't know what would come next, but I felt that for the first time I was ready. Not to be strong again, but to be his again. The day they took me from prison wasn't to free me. It was to parade me, the conquered monster, the fallen god, the jester, of an empire that thought it had defeated Israel and its God. They dragged me to Dagon's temple. Thousands of Philistines celebrated. Priests sang, nobles toasted. And amid the uproar there I was blind. Weak, chained. They didn't recognize me, but I didn't recognize that place either. Not for its architecture, but for what it represented. It was the temple of ego, of arrogance, of the system that thinks it can mock the spirit and go unpunished. They positioned me between two columns. I, without sight, without pride, without strength, felt the weight of something greater than stone, the weight of purpose, and so I prayed. Not like before, not like the Samson who used God as a power source, but like the broken man who finally understood that life isn't about glory, but surrender, Lord. If you ever listen to me, hear me once more. Not for vengeance, not for pride, but so my death may be worth more than my whole life. I felt the tremor not in the earth. In my soul, I placed my hands on the column's cold stone. But between my fingers, something invisible began to burn. It wasn't fury, it was peace. I pushed not with my muscles, with what remained of faith, and when everything fell, I fell too. But not as a prisoner, I fell as an offering. As someone who finally understood that dying for God is more glorious than living for oneself. In my death, I freed my people. Not with the sword, but with my surrender. And if today someone remembers my story, may it not be for my strength, but for my final act, because sometimes, only when the body breaks does the soul reveal itself. Thank you for walking with me through this story. If something awoke within you, then tell me it was worthwhile. Until next time, in the end,